So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she'd come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me. simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. simultv.com.
Welcome to another edition of Cal's Corner Radio here on the X Zone Broadcast Network. My name is Kal Korff, and I'm your host. Folks, I have some exciting news to share with you for hopefully the rest of the show. This is an update to the scoop and story that was first broken on Rob McConnell's X Zone Radio show. And of course, we've talked about it throughout in the last year on this show. And this is the investigation into the famous, or let's call it, let's be blunt, the now infamous and soon to be thoroughly exposed. Hopefully some people will be prosecuted as a result of this, as per laws. Let's keep it within the law, of course. And we'll take it from there. In the meantime, the first step is to continue to chip away at the truth, to get it out to the truth. And I argue that the greatest thing about facts is that anybody can independently check them. They don't care about people's opinions. And our job, especially as journalists and as people who, want to get to the truth, is to tell you the truth, regardless of what it is. And if we don't like it, that's too bad. We have to get the truth out so that people can decide the issues for themselves. This is no different. Now, again, we're talking about the infamous TikTok case, or Tic Tac case. I like to kind of mock it a little bit. This is the series of incidents where there are these objects that are filmed supposedly by the military. There's the famous Nimitz aircraft group case where the pilots had supposedly chased this object and it left them in the dust. It could do anything it wanted, basically. It had a rapid drop from, say, 17,000 feet down to just above the ocean. The numbers are all over the map, but the point is this thing behaved in a way, if we believe the hype, and that's a very important point here, if you believe the hype, this thing behaved in a way that nothing made on Earth that we know of could explain this. And that's a key phrase here, that we know of. And certainly we don't know everything, because a lot of what the military is doing and has done since decades, and they need to continue doing this, is of course secret before it becomes public. Look at how many spy aircraft and rumors of things going around never ended up being true, but only after the initial buzz was floating around. So in the case of the infamous series of events that are being promoted as if they are real, as if there's smoking gun evidence that aliens are visiting the Earth, I refer you again to the current issue of the X Zone Chronicles. You've got to get it. It's free. Go to the X Zone website. You can download it. I believe the story's on page 32. It's a main story there. This is the expose of former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid and how he wasted in a move that one can objectively argue it just reeks of corruption. He gives one of his longtime friends and chief financial backers, Robert Bigelow, the real estate mogul in Nevada. He runs Bigelow Aerospace, among other entities. He's been associated with paranormal for many, many years. He gives him essentially 22 million taxpayer dollars funded without congressional oversight from the black budget of the Pentagon. And Bigelow, supposedly, according to the data, he goes ahead and spreads that money around to people that he supposedly thought highly enough to pay them. They do all this supposed research, and according to Harry Reid and what he told reporter George Knapp, again, this is all in the article, and again, go to xchronicles.com or xzonechronicles.com, and you'll see it. You will see again that there is this expose, and there's a wonderful quote, a series of quotes from the interview that reporter George Knapp had done with Harry Reid, where Harry Reid talks about, 46 scientists being involved in this. Well, as a journalist myself, and as a member of, I'm proud to be part of the Exo Nation, we have a valid issue to ask this question, where are these 46 scientists? What are their names? Where's the scientific work? Why doesn't the American people or the public have this information? Reid spoke about artifacts, alien artifacts. Again, there's scientific evidence. Folks, scientific evidence is something that anyone can independently verify if they want to. Because again, facts can be checked by anybody. They don't care about your opinion. But where is all this evidence? Well, it isn't there. And yet taxpayer dollars paid for it. It belongs to the American people, and anything else beyond that is a bonus. So again, this story is at www.xchroniclesnewspaper.com. Again, xchroniclesnewspaper.com, one word. Again, www.xchroniclesnewspaper.com. And this isn't the only expose coming, I promise you. This is just the beginning. Because what we're doing, as you often have to do in many investigations, especially where large amounts of money are involved, is we are following the money. And what makes this expose very unique is that Robert Kiviat, a longtime Fox producer, has given me and the Exo Nation the exclusive quotes that are in this expose. And you can read it yourself. They're his words, and you'll find them nowhere else. Now, more information is going to come out. I promise you. This thing is going viral. There are thousands and thousands of places that this thing has been read. I've looked at the traffic on the back end of the different websites. There's over 1,000 Facebook sites where this thing has been propagated, and God knows how many each of those Facebook sites have as far as their number of friends and then their friends sharing it. I know in my case, I've got thousands of Facebook friends. So if one of them shares one of my articles and they've got thousands of friends, the exposure begins to go exponential, if you will, or at least viral, as they call it. And now I have just found out from Robert Kiviat just before the show, and I'm not making this up, we'll deal with this as it comes, that the former CIA scientist, Dr. Rand Pandolfi, apparently he's written some sort of response to the article. Well, I'm glad he's finally responding. We'll see what he says. I don't know what he said so far. I just was told by Kiviat before starting to record this show that he found out that he has responded. I'll find out what it is. I will report back to you. I'll give the data to Rob McConnell. And I promise you there's even more data coming. Tomorrow, mark my words, folks, Rob McConnell is going to receive the first official documents that have went to various entities and agencies in the U.S. government over what Harry Reid did. These documents are going to start to hold people accountable unless they fail deliberately to do their jobs. Now, I understand that the timing of this probably couldn't be worse because the U.S. government is technically closed. Ha ha. But there's enough of it functioning, or at least some of it can be put on hold, to give these people enough time to go ahead and maybe deal with this. For example, in one of the letters that I'm getting to Rob tomorrow, it says to Nancy Pelosi, who of course is once again the Speaker of the House, it says very clearly that Nancy, now that you've got time on your hands, you have no excuse not to deal with this. And while you may be friends with Harry Reid and all that other stuff, as per the law and as per protocol and all that other stuff, as per ethical requirements, we're going through the front door. That's the only way to do it. I said many times on the show when I had people like Dr. Bruce Maccabee who have been victimized by Dr. Pandolfi's disinformation and manipulations and just, let's just call them stretching the truth over the years if you want to use PC vernacular. And what we're going to do, again, is to try to hold these people accountable. If Nancy Pelosi isn't going to help respond to people who are in her district who want to know the truth about this issue, and of course, I've got a lot of friends there. I'm from the Bay Area myself, as is Pelosi. Well, then she will be exposed accordingly. What's going to happen with the inspector generals and the other entities that are going to look at this? Because those documents are coming out as well, and those inquiries and contacts have been underway for some time now. I promise you. I know because I have led them. I have dealt with those departments before in other capacities in other countries such as India, where I was dealing with the Near East office, which of course their top agent there at that time was, of course, CIA. So it's rather interesting how this is going to come about. And what I'm really excited about is that all of this is going to go public. So all you have to do is tune into Rob McConnell's X Zone radio show and this show. It's kind of a 1-2 combination, and we will systematically go where the truth is. We're following the money, and there's a lot of stuff coming out, I promise you. And that's all I have to say for basically this segment. So what we're going to do for the rest of the show is we're going to recap why this is important, and then we're going to discuss a conversation that actually happened today with a man who is probably the top reporter who has been promoting the Tic Tac cases if it's genuine. He, of course, has given us exclusive interviews, given the public exclusive interviews with, of course, Harry Reid. And, of course, he's got access to people like Robert Bigelow. And, again, he's longtime journalist George Knapp. What I'm going to do in the next segment is I'm going to read to you what Knapp said publicly. Then I'm going to read to you what Kiviat responded with. And then I'm going to tell you what I said to Knapp and what I'm going to I am challenging him as of this show to address the issues that I will bring up in the next segment, the third one, and the fourth one. And we're going to start with basics here that I've talked about on this show before. Key words like debunker. When you have a reporter who can't even use the right English to write articles about a subject he's supposed to be an expert in and has reported on for decades, Houston, we've got a problem, and we're going to come back to that issue after the break here. In the meantime, before we take the break, let's think about the word debunker for a moment, because we've talked about this before. You know, I've been tempted over the years to write what I call a UFO dictionary, because if I don't do something like that, or somebody doesn't do it, or a committee doesn't do it, then ufology is going to pretty much mostly remain ufology. Now, ufology is supposed to be the scientific study of not UFOs, but UFO reports, because we don't study UFOs directly. They won't cooperate, assuming they're aliens from another planet. Instead, we study anecdotal evidence. We study reports of them. Those reports come in different formats, such as a sighting, a photograph, a video, assuming they're real, maybe documents, a radar tracking. Maybe there's a piece of physical evidence on the ground. We'll be back after this break.
Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomenon, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X Zone Nation, Keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light.
It's hard to listen to the news without realizing we're living in volatile, unprecedented times. Yet never has there been such an opportunity to transform the human condition. As old structures fail, where can we find the guidance to co-create a better way? Find Your Path Home is an ever-evolving, leading-edge information, education, and healing resource center designed to support and guide you on your path to unity and enlightenment. Based on sound principles employed by shamans worldwide, we provide techniques that can support you through the current transitions, offering online shamanic classes, international long-distance shamanic healing sessions, complimentary Mission Evolution radio episodes and Stairway to Heaven TV vignettes, seminars, retreats, and much more. All of this can be found on findyourpathhome.com.
Welcome back to the second segment here on Cal's Corner Radio Show here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. My name is Kal Korff, and I'm your host, and the executive producer of the show is Rob McConnell. Okay, as we were saying before the break, let's dial this back a little bit to cover what I call Ufology 101. To briefly recap, because this way, I'm setting this up as an important context here, because I'm going to segue then into what George Knapp did, because it's relevant today on what he posted and the back and forth today that happened between him and I, and of course Bob Kiviat. Now, Ufology 101. Ufology is supposed to be, it is the scientific study of UFO reports. Again, reports, not the UFOs themselves, because they don't cooperate. Secondly, ufology, which is what most of ufology today really is. Ufology is not the scientific study of UFO reports. It's anything but that, okay? As but, like B-U-T-T. These people are talking out there, you know what. A ufologist is somebody who makes a conclusion that is not derivable from the data, regardless of the reasons. It's a fool. That's the key word. There are plenty of ufologists out there who call themselves ufologists. A ufologist is somebody who practices ufology, which is the scientific study of UFO reports. A ufologist is somebody who pretends to be a ufologist or makes conclusions about UFOs which are not derivable from the data. And unfortunately, that's most of the field. Now, those are the definitions of those two words. If George Knapp tells you otherwise, well, that's his problem. Now, let's talk about another basic here. Being a ufologist. When I was in high school, because I started studying UFO reports at age 11. Later, when I was in high school, I had a little business card, and on it said ufologist, author, lecturer, and so on, because I was doing that at age 13. Now, how could I, at age 13, call myself a ufologist? Well, it's because I studied UFO reports as scientific as I could back then. But the point is, anybody can be a ufologist because there's no requirements. None. There's no degree. You don't have to go to college. There's absolutely none. In fact, you could train a parrot or a dog to be a ufologist. Yeah, go sniff the alien scent there at the landing gear, imprints in the ground. You can do all kinds of stuff because there's no scientific standards. Because ufology itself is not a scientific discipline. When people say the field of ufology, I have to laugh. It's not a field. It's not a recognized discipline of anything. It's a hobby. And to some people, unfortunately, it's a religion. And that's where it becomes a problem. Look at the Billy Meyer cult. It's a religion, even though they don't like to call it that, but that's what it is. It's a cult. So, let me tell you what happened. As you know in the news lately, unless you've been living in a cave, there's this kind of interesting story that's been floating around about this ice circle that has appeared, in areas where there's ice and snow. And it looks really cool. And the British press has picked this up. And of course, like Americans, they're kind of UFO crazy over there. They're about the only two countries that are, USA and Great Britain. And this ice ring, was it formed by aliens that landed on there? Because it's almost perfectly round, and the ducks are swirling around the edge. And is it a vortex? No, it's not. So what happens is David Bietti, he points out that, hey, at Skinwalker Ranch, that mythical, overhyped, paranormal piece of property that's all hooey, they had a similar thing and scientists had analyzed it and they found special properties and things that were strange and mysterious. It's not true, folks. And I'll tell you, I was shocked to see a reaction from George Knapp on this, defending essentially the claims at Skinwalker Ranch. So what I wrote in response to this posting, I'm reading it to you from Facebook now, I'm looking at it. I said, sorry, more, in quotes, paranormal BS connected to Bigelow. I argue that by hyping the paranormal angle, which is pure fantasy at Skinwalker Ranch, it drives the price up real estate-wise, and it empowers hucksters who advocate this nonsense to cut deals with TV channels and once again commit fraud, and even arguably consumer fraud once products hyping this as real are sold to the public when the promoters and producers of this know darn well better. In other words, they know it's not true, or they know it's not quite what they might say on TV during their sound bites, but they're selling products implying otherwise, and regardless of the subject involved, that is the very definition of consumer fraud. You can look it up. And while I'm not accusing them of that, let's be clear, this is a very dicey area to get into. So what does George Knapp write? He says, here's more hyping. The original report written by scientists who were on the scene, not debunker experts who trot themselves out every now and then to blab. Whoa, George, I'm shocked. And let me tell you why. First of all, you've been in the UFO field covering it for decades. And still, decades later, you can't even use proper terminology. So what I wrote back to George Knapp, and again, it's a matter of record, it's out there, I'm going to read it to you now, and hopefully he'll respond. I said, George Knapp, can you be just a little more vague, George? Who or whom are you specifically referring to? In other words, he's made the allegation here, folks, that this report that supposedly says that this thing was special, or whatever term you want to call it, anything but normal, that it was written by scientists who were on the scene. Ooh, okay, because they were there, the report's automatically supposed to be correct. Science isn't quite that simple. Just ask global warming proponents. And then you have, then he says, not debunker experts. Oh, okay, well, there he's using the word debunker again in the same wrong way that Stanton Friedman uses it all the time, has built a whole career around. In fact, as far as I know, in my short lifespan, it's been Friedman who's responsible for the public misperception of what the word debunker means. So I say, who or whom are you specifically referring to? Maybe Knapp was referring to me. Well, I'm not a debunker, okay? I don't want to call him out on that and make sure he understands what the word means. But regardless of who he's referring to or whom, I want to know, so I asked him. Then I said to George, you made the claim about debunkers. Back it up, please. As a longtime fellow journalist and TV broadcaster, last question. Based on your past and current remarks, it's obvious you do not understand what a debunker is. The word debunker means to remove the bunk. Decaffeinated coffee has no caffeine. So George Knapp, what is wrong with separating bunk or BS from facts so that people learn the truth? I'm asking George this question. If you are a credible journalist, this is what I said to George, your job is to report the truth. Ergo, you are a debunker by the real definition of this word, not ufology's definition, which is peculiar only to them. So now I'm waiting for him to respond, and we'll see what he says. And before I jumped in, Kiviat had said this to George, and Kiviat was spot on. He says, George, why do you jump in to defend the alleged scientific veracity of almost everything, quote, Skinwalker, unquote, these days? What happened to the objective journalist's approach as opposed to PR defender? $22 million spent on ice ring analysis and the like, studied by, guess who? Putoff's company, Can We Talk? Laughing out loud. Now he's talking about Hal Puthoff, and Hal Puthoff is involved in this. Hal Puthoff is a character that you have to meet him to believe he really exists. He's the guy who conducted these infamous and now discredited supposedly scientific research tests at Stanford Research Labs in the 70s with supposed psychic Uri Geller, who's, of course, not really a psychic. And these reports at the time, I remember them as a kid because, I was part of, I grew up in the Bay Area, and I was part of the International Paranormal Studies Group. And of course, we had a connection back then with Dr. Lawrence Pinio, who was connected to Stanford Research Institute. And we knew that this whole thing was blowing up in their face. So Hal Puthoff was later discredited. Because he's in a field and on the periphery of the paranormal and the fringe areas, of course he's taken seriously, which is unfortunate. And he's got a PhD, so of course he must be entirely credible. We've seen that game before, has nothing to do with it. A person's credibility rises or falls, of course, on the degree to which they can prove what they're saying, especially if that claim is controversial. And in this case here, we're led to believe, or misled to believe, and again, in the expose of Harry Reid that is in the current issue of the X Zone Chronicles newspaper, there are the quotes from George Knapp, because Harry Reid gave George Knapp the exclusive interviews where he talks about scientific evidence and all that other stuff. So again, I come back to the point. Imagine you're a journalist like George Knapp, who's got Emmys and Peabody Awards and Edward R. Murrow Awards. He's got dozens of these things. He's sitting there with Harry Reid in the room, giving him an exclusive and saying, we have artifacts, we've got scientific evidence. Well, where's the question? Hey, Harry, show it to me. Come on, bro. You give me an exclusive, you tell me this, and you don't show me? Can't you take me there? Can't you, borrow my phone and film it? Stream it on Facebook, whatever. Grab me a little chunk just as a memento, whatever. But no, see, the stuff never really appears. I argue it doesn't exist. And the very idea that a civilian could tell the U.S. government the truth about alien visitations, that the U.S. government wouldn't already know because they've got the resources to track this stuff and have for many decades, is just nuts. And so it bothers me that there was corruption. I think one can make a case for that. That's my view of it. It's constitutionally protected. I think it's backed up by facts. If I ever see evidence to the contrary, I will correct it, of course. I've always had a long-standing offer that if I make an error in my published works, I will correct the record. I don't have an ego in this. In fact, I don't mind being wrong. It's been one of the best ways I've learned in my life to find out what is right. We're not perfect. Now, we're going to come back after the break here. But I want to tell you what's coming out next, a series of documents. Rob McConnell will have those tomorrow, and I'll tell you what's in them and why they're important. We will be back after this break.
They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by L.A. Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, they conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com.
Welcome back to the third segment here on Cal's Corner Radio Show here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. Once again, my name is Kal Korff, and I'm your host, and the executive producer of the show is Rob McConnell. Now, as we leave the issue of George Knapp and really have to seriously question his integrity and objectivity where it concerns his reporting on the Tic Tac and anything related to Skinwalker Ranch, let's be blunt, folks. Let's call black black and white white when it is, okay? I'm going to read to you now something that is on George Knapp's official biography page at his Las Vegas Now TV station where he works. It says George Knapp. Follow George on Facebook and Twitter. Okay, so he's got the usual stuff everybody does. Fine. It says here, George Knapp earned a bachelor's degree in communications from West Georgia College and a master's degree in communications from the University of the Pacific, where he also taught speech, debate, and served as director of forensics. Wow. George also taught speech at California Polytechnic University, coached the debate team at the University of California at Berkeley, and taught broadcast journalism at the University of Las Vegas. That would be UNLV that he refers to on his official biography page on the LasVegasNow.com website, which again is where he works. Now, this first paragraph is interesting, folks, because again, he says he also taught speech and debate and served as director of forensics. Now, we know what forensics is. It's a very hard scientific discipline. One screw up in forensics and you send an innocent person to the electric chair or the death penalty, or they get killed, or they get imprisoned for something they didn't do. Forensics, physical evidence. Now, if he was the director of forensics, we must assume that he must have some knowledge of forensics, right? It's been my observation that people who are a director of forensics may not, usually they know something about it. But what type of forensics are these? Are these speech mechanical forensics, or are they forensics where they concern physical evidence? I don't know. It's not clear from his sentence here. But let's assume for a moment it's forensics like physical sciences. If that's the case and he was the director of this, then how can you explain his ridiculous remarks about this supposedly mysterious blob of ice, which wasn't really mysterious, and all this other nonsense about paranormal whatever going on at Skinwalker Ranch? You can't. You can't explain it credibly, physically, forensically. You can't explain it credibly as an investigative and supposedly objective journalist. And because we've now told George the correct meaning of the word debunker, that makes him a debunker by that definition, separating in theory fact from fiction. That's what debunkers do. That's a job of a reporter, to report the facts so that the public can separate fact from fiction. In the reporting, you separate fact from fiction. That makes you a debunker. That is George Knapp. It says he moved to Las Vegas in 1979, landed a job as a taxi driver. Later, he worked at KLVX TV Channel 10 as a part-time studio cameraman and production assistant. KLAS-TV hired him in 1981 as a general assignment reporter. George also has co-anchored various newscasts for KLAS-TV. Again, pretty accomplished guy so far. But look at this, it gets even better. Since 1995, this is the last paragraph here on his page, folks, George has been the chief reporter on Channel 8's I-Team investigative unit. Now, I have to say something. As a longtime Apple veteran, Steve Jobs was the man who changed my life when I met him at Apple. I worked under him briefly as part of the Macintosh unit in charge of security for that project. I wasn't part of the computing team, although I did have input because I knew some of them on some of the stuff going on because we're computer geeks. And so what happened is this I-team has nothing to do with Apple. Okay. Maybe they mean investigative team or whatever, but there was a time, thanks to Steve Jobs coming back to Apple, where everything was I this, I that, iMovie, iTunes, whatever. It's kind of gone out of fashion now. There's no iWatch, there's an Apple Watch. But anyway, he's part of this I-team. I just want you to know it has nothing to do with Apple, thankfully. So he's part of this I-team investigative unit. In that capacity, his website says, he has earned 5 regional Edward R. Murrow Awards and 2 national Edward R. Murrow Awards for his investigative stories, and is a 9-time winner of the Associated Press Mark Twain Award for Best News Writing. Folks, that's impressive stuff. Doesn't matter who it is here. It's George Knapp in this case, but give him his credit. This is impressive stuff. Most journalists don't have this number of awards, and it gets even better. His investigative reports, this is what he writes, have been recognized, awarded the highest honors in broadcast journalism, including the DuPont Award from Columbia University and the Peabody Award twice, not once, but twice, folks. He has also won 24 regional Emmys. 24 regional Emmys. How many Emmys do you have? Ask yourself that question, folks. And then in 1990, his series about UFOs was selected by the United Press International as best in the nation for individual achievement by a journalist. Okay. Wow. What a pedigree. You would say, bring this guy on to any UFO investigation, because with a guy like this, with a track record supposedly like this, if his awards are any indication of what he's capable of doing, of what his competence and objectivity are supposed to be, bring him on. This is a win-win. This will help get to the bottom of the truth and get it out to the public. Okay, well, it turns out that things aren't quite a good match. If you look at his rhetoric in promoting Skinwalker Ranch, the stuff with the softball questions with Harry Reid, I quote from the interview in the expose, and this is just the beginning. It's not the only article that's going to come out about it. It is the first of a series. I promise you, we're going to follow the money, follow the data, report to you on what's going on, keep the pressure on until we get to the truth here and solve this one way or another. I don't care what the final outcome is. I want the truth. I don't care what the truth is, as long as we get that truth. And now Knapp is defending all this nonsense, and he's putting on the line, whether he sees it or not, admits it or not. I'm telling you, George, as a longtime journalist myself, going back decades, going back in this UFO field for over, again, field understanding is not a real scientific field, for over 40 years, so I've been in it longer than you. I've had over 10,000 articles published around the world. I don't have all the degrees you do, but I've got exposés that you wouldn't even touch, like solving Kennedy's murder. I was on Larry King on November 22nd, 1993, on the 30th anniversary of that murder, to debate the former chief investigator, which I did. His name was Gayton Fonzie. I debated him on Larry King live before that audience around the world. And he lost that debate. Not a single person called in to ask him a question, even though I was arguing the least favorable view that it was only Oswald who killed him. So the problem I have, George, with some of the stuff that you do is it seems that for many years now, you've been promoting hype. How could you, as a journalist, sit before anybody, let alone the leader of the Senate, and have him tell you about scientific evidence that they learned because of this project, this money they spent, the $22 million, and you not say, where is it? Can I have it? Can I see it? What? And then he's basically telling you, have a nice day. And this was my big criticism in the expose of what you did, and especially the New York Times, which we are misled to believe, if you believe their marketing hype, and I don't, that they're the most prestigious newspaper in the world. I don't believe that anymore. I think they used to be, but I think they've lost at least one step. And the way they handled the coverage of this was just ridiculous. In fact, they should have told these yokels, we're not going to say anything about this except how bad you are unless you cough up the goods. Once you show us something and can prove it and we can verify it, we'll give you all the coverage you want free. That's the way this should have been handled. That's the way that your approach to this, George, should have been handled, but it wasn't for reasons you should explain. And I don't think you've done a good job at that, because I see a disconnect between this amazing record you've got here on your own page here that I just read of all these awards, this awards for investigative journalism, your Edward R. Murrow Awards, your individual achievement by a journalist by UPI, your Peabody Awards. Quote, his investigative reports have been recognized, awarded the highest honors. Well, why aren't you doing it on this one, George? What is wrong? So I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to take it the right way, because I would expect you to ask me the same question if the shoe were on the other foot. Are you like getting some financial compensation for this? Do you have a financial interest? Do you have a vested interest at all in any of this? Because I got news for you as far as my motives go. I have zero. The only reason that I jumped into this case is because as a journalist and a human being, when I'm watching Fox News and I see Tucker Carlson talking about the coverage of the Nimitz Tic Tac UFO case, again, on a national global show like that, top-rated show, and the New York Times is giving this case credibility and talking about how taxpayer money was used to pay private individuals to tell the government what it knows about UFOs, things it supposedly wouldn't know if they didn't give these private citizens this money. The whole premise is ridiculous, especially when that individual is a longtime friend of Harry Reid's and not coincidentally a political donor, okay? And now he had a financial interest in Skinwalker Ranch, then sold it for a profit around the time the paranormal stuff started taking off. We've seen the pattern before. It's not right. It's suspicious. It stinks, as I've said before. And you're in there hyping it as if there's some credibility here, rather than applying the supposed investigative prowess of your 24 regional Emmys and getting to the bottom of this. And your post today, George, as you showed it in Facebook, and I hope everybody reads it, is just shameful. We'll be back after this commercial break.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by L.A. Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she'd come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. simultv.com.
Hi, folks. Welcome back to the fourth and final segment here on Cal's Corner Online radio show. My name is Kal Korff, and I'm your host. And once again, the executive producer of the show is the one and only Rob McConnell. So to wrap this up, folks, here's what's going to happen. In this next segment, we're going to go over what's coming out next. Tomorrow, Rob McConnell is going to receive copies of the actual documents that have gone to various government departments, law and legal representatives, and I'm talking about representatives in the government as well as people in different government agencies. This includes everything from Nancy Pelosi to Harry Reid himself, the inspector generals of various entities. I'm not going to say any more. What I'm going to do, because this has been an X-Zone investigation, I made that very clear. Working with Rob on this, I've made it very clear when I've had Dr. Bruce Maccabee on here for that two-parter, when we've talked about this Tic Tac case. I've always said that there's only one way to approach this, which is to go through the front door. And when I started to reinvestigate this after the Tucker Carlson broadcast a bit over a year ago, where they announced all this incredible stuff, quoting the New York Times, basically dropped the ball, didn't pursue it further, and then said, have a nice day. That's unacceptable if you value journalism and ethics. And let's be honest, let's say there was no such thing as a journalist. What about being a decent moral human being? What if I came up to you and said, hey, I've got scientific evidence here of aliens, okay? 46 scientists were involved. We've got artifacts. Okay, see you tomorrow. Well, why do you do that to people? Why would you put it on the front page of the #1 newspaper in the world and call that a story? That's not a story. That's an abomination. So this investigation is going to peel this onion, for lack of a better term, layer by layer. And we're going to see, again, by following the money and how this just unwinds. And we're going in areas and territory, folks, that has never been done before. This is literally unprecedented. And pulling myself out of this, it is historic in the sense that it's going to change modern history as we know it today. In other words, as this runs its course and people start continuing posting this on the internet, we're going to expose just how convoluted and tragic, I guess, the truth really is in this. So these documents are coming out to Rob McConnell tomorrow. If he agrees to it, I will be on his show in a few days. And I would propose that we be on with Robert Kiviat, because I'll tell you why Kiviat's important and why he has a piece of this that nobody else has. You see, as I mentioned in the expose, again, it's at the xchroniclesnewspaper.com. You can download it free, folks. In the early 1980s, Bill Moore, the famed original author, Roswell Incident author with Charles Berlitz of the original Roswell Incident book, he worked with Richard Doty, spreading disinformation. He admitted that. They tried to recruit me into this aviary. I went public with it in 1982. Thank God I did, because all these years later, it's come back to being relevant. And today, whether people like it or not, I remain the author of the best-selling Roswell expose book of all time. It's called The Roswell UFO Crash, What They Don't Want You to Know. It's been through multiple printings. Its current publisher is Random House, Bantam, Doubleday Dell. It's paper book. You can download it from or buy it from Amazon.com like any other book. It's got very high ratings. And when I say the Roswell UFO crash, what they don't want you to know, I'm talking about the UFO conspiracy nuts and the Roswell conspiracy nuts who are lying about what really happened. And they're all exposed in there. Mine was the first book to expose the lies of Philip Colonel Corso. It's in there. It's in the paperback edition. It was an update. So, as the person who exposed Roswell many years ago, who found and interviewed the head of Project Mogul, etc., worked with Bob Todd on it, and I was the first one to publish Marcel's military file that proved he lied about his background, claiming he had received 5 air medals, that he was a pilot, etc., had a bachelor's of science in physics from the University of Washington. None of that was true. I checked all of that. Obviously, Friedman and others couldn't be bothered to do it, or it didn't mean anything to them once I exposed it. Shame on them. And this is the main supposed credible Roswell witness. And then I had Jesse Marcel Jr. tell me after the book came out, yeah, my father did have a tendency to exaggerate on occasion. Now, what am I going to do about this Korff book? Well, no kidding. He had a tendency to exaggerate on occasion. And then he meets Friedman, and it goes downhill from there. So this is all stuff that's been a matter of history for decades. Whether millennials know it or not, and most of them don't seem to, that's not going to change history. And people like George Knapp, I remember him when he was at KLAS. In fact, until I came up to speed on him in the last couple of years, I thought he was still there. But found out he moved to Vegas. Fine. Whatever floats his boat. So the thing is, we're going to get to the bottom of this. And the reason the Kiviat stuff is important is because they try to. Pandolfi, the CIA disinfo scientist guy who worked the weird desk at the CIA for years and still spreads disinfo today, he signed through Firmage this contract. They've got it. Pandolfi was involved. And now Kiviat's going to sue them because they owe him a lot of money. A lot of money. They haven't paid him anything, and they hired him to sell this thing, and he went in there to try to get the inside angle and see what could happen. And if it was not going to be true, as a journalist, he would tell the truth. He's not going to sit there and say that, this is an anti-gravity device if it really isn't. He's not going to, attach his name and reputation to that. And Pandolfi continues to lie. Apparently he's responded today. We'll get back to you on that. Kiviat called me, said he's got a response. We'll see what he says. And I'll share that with you. And this will be very interesting because, again, we get to learn the truth. So when these lawsuit documents are filed within 7 to 10 days and they're real, this is not a bluff. We have the legal right to discovery, to blow open what is not what Friedman calls the cosmic Watergate. I'm talking about the real one. It's what they don't want you to know. Pandolfi doesn't want you to know about the money that he has questionably obtained by, we can argue and prove, and it's going to go to court, false claims involving investments, and there seems to be millions of dollars involved. It just needs to be investigated. The $22 million that went to this group of people, that needs to be thoroughly run down. This evidence belongs to the American people in the same exact way, by the same laws that the autopsy photos of President John F. Kennedy's assassination, belong to the American people because taxpayer dollars paid for them. That's the case in the $22 million that Harry Reid gave from black budget funds at the Pentagon to these private civilians. And we now know where a lot of that money went. And Bob Kiviat has that information, and he's going to expose it. And because I, as the journalist, have been given the inside track on this, because of my unique position of being in the right time, at the right place, going back decades on this issue of CIA disinfo, Roswell, the aviary. That's why I'm able to expose people like Annie Jacobson, like I did years ago. I was the only one to write the most comprehensive paper exposing her book about Area 51 that she wrote years ago. That's going to come back again to be republished. and I will expose the game that was played to try to censor that. I wrote that article from India for the Daily Post newspaper. It was the highest rated article ever on that paper. It's going to come back out, and it's going to be updated with further evidence that exposes Annie Jacobsen, because she is basically the modern equivalent, folks, of a Richard Doty type character, for lack of a better term. She claims her sources tell her this, but yet when the sources are interviewed by other people, they say, no, I didn't say that. Well, it's like, well, Annie, where's your recordings proving that your version of what they're denying is correct? Well, I have yet to hear them. I'm skeptical until I actually hear them, that they even exist. So again, we're going to get to the bottom of all of this. I'm now challenging George Knapp to live up to his supposed pedigree here. Put his investigative journalism, and he is putting his credibility on the line. If he wants to stay as a golden glove treated passenger on what is a Titanic, it's his right. If he wants to get with the truth and help expose things, work with us to get to the truth, because he does have connections. He can call up Harry Reid and say, hey, unlike you and I, where we have to go through a few extra hoops, why doesn't he do this? He should do it. Shame on him for not having done it. Because I'll tell you, again, as a longtime journalist, and even as a fellow human being, the idea that we might have final evidence of real contact with extraterrestrials is not only a history maker, it is a history breaker and rewriter. Think about it. I can't think of anything more exciting than to have smoking gun evidence, irrefutable evidence, a piece of alien technology that you can say was not from Earth. That would not only change humanity as a whole, for the better, I think, but it would be just as a news event, as a human awareness, a consciousness driving event, the greatest thing since the second coming of Jesus Christ, which, if that's ever going to happen, hasn't happened yet. So I can't think of anything more exciting than proof of aliens. And if George Knapp is so close to the truth, he just has to let Harry give him the key to the secret room that was modified with taxpayer dollars to house this UFO evidence and artifacts, and then just show it to us, show it to the world, win a Nobel Prize, change history, whatever. Well, George, you can do it. Instead, you choose not to. Let's be blunt about it. And thanks again for joining us for another episode here, and we'll be back next week.
They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by Ellie Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
If you are looking for a safe, zero-calorie natural option to the harmful artificial sweeteners on the market today, Just Like Sugar is what you're looking for. Just Like Sugar is a wonderful natural alternative for those health-conscious people who choose a calorie-restricted diet with a great, pure, sweet flavor that tastes just like sugar. Just Like Sugar is a great natural option for people suffering from diabetes and may be useful in restricted diet programs where standard sugars are not allowed and does not cause a laxative effect of some other sweeteners. Just Like Sugar comprises a perfect blend of chicory root fiber, natural calcium, natural vitamin C, and Just Like Sugar's sweetness comes from the natural flavors from the peel of the orange. Just Like Sugar is a natural alternative to harmful artificial sweeteners and will change the way that you believe all natural sweetener products taste.
Just Like Sugar is available at your local Whole Foods markets, Wild Oats markets, Henry's, Sun Harvest, and many other fine natural food stores in the U.S., Canada, and worldwide.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.